After our warm family dinner, the shattered glass lay beside the table, blood seeping through my wrist, and he smiled like nothing had happened. Mom looked away, while I activated the camera I'd hidden in the wall outlet. 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang, and the first person to see the cops wasn't me. His face went from smug satisfaction to pure shock as 2 officers stepped past him into our living room. "We received a domestic disturbance report," one said, looking directly at my stepfather. The camera was still recording, capturing every second of his mask finally slipping. "My name is Riley Hart, and for 31 years, I've perfected the art of being the good daughter, data analysis manager at Northline Dynamics by day, dutiful stepdaughter by night at least. That's what Calvin Rourke expected when he married my mother 12 years ago. The house in Seabrook, Delaware, still smelled like fresh paint when I signed the closing papers last month. My first real accomplishment that had nothing to do with him. That's when things started to shift. The congratulations from neighbors felt like betrayals to Calvin. Every compliment about my independence was a personal attack on his authority. 'You think you're better than me,' became his favorite phrase, usually accompanied by that particular look, jaw clenched, eyes narrowed, fingers drumming on whatever surface was nearest. The same look he'd give right before his hand would accidentally grip my arm too tight, or his shoulder would bump me into a wall. Always deniable. Always my fault for being clumsy. Mom Lorraine had mastered her own performance. Sweet and attentive when the neighbors stopped by. She'd transform into a ghost the moment our front door closed. She'd float between rooms, avoiding eye contact, humming softly to drown out Calvin's escalating voice. "Don't provoke him, Riley," she'd whisper while dabbing concealer on the bruise blooming on my forearm. "You know how he gets when he's stressed from work." But Calvin wasn't stressed from work. He was a mid-level supervisor at a logistics company who spent more time perfecting his lawn than reviewing reports. What stressed him was losing control. My promotion last year, my new car, the house. Each milestone was another crack in his carefully constructed kingdom where he sat on a throne made of intimidation and Mom's silence. The transformation was seamless in public. Calvin became the charming stepfather who'd taken on the challenge of raising another man's daughter. He'd laugh with the guys at the hardware store, help elderly Mrs. Patterson with her groceries, and volunteer for Neighborhood Watch. "Such a good man," they'd all say. "Lorraine's so lucky." I started taking that personal safety course 6 months ago, after the incident with the kitchen cabinet. Calvin had shoved me backward during an argument about my attitude, and my head connected with the corner hard enough to need 4 stitches. The ER doctor asked questions, but I stuck to the story clumsy me, reaching for a glass on the top shelf. The look she gave me said she knew, but without proof. Without me speaking up. Her hands were tied. That's when I realized documentation would be my weapon. The doorbell camera went up first, for package security. I told them. The outlet cameras came next, disguised as regular wall plugs, automatically uploading to a cloud server I'd encrypted myself. My smartwatch got configured to trigger emergency recordings with a specific gesture. I studied Delaware's laws on domestic violence, consent for recordings, what constituted admissible evidence. Knowledge became my armor, even as I maintained my role in Calvin's twisted play. I still came to Sunday dinners. Still smiled when he'd make his passive-aggressive comments about kids these days thinking they know everything. Still pretended not to notice Mom's wine glass getting fuller with each passing month. The breaking point was building, though. I could feel it in the way Calvin's criticisms became sharper, his accidents more frequent. The house purchase had tipped some invisible scale. He couldn't stand that I'd done it without asking his opinion, without needing his co-signature, without giving him any leverage over my life. She probably slept her way to that promotion. I heard him tell his brother on the phone last week, not bothering to lower his voice when I walked past. No way she earned it on merit. Not with that attitude. The old me would have confronted him. The new me simply activated the recording app on my phone and saved the file to my evidence folder, already containing timestamps, photos, medical records, and 32 video clips of escalating aggression. Calvin thought he was untouchable because he'd never left marks that couldn't be explained away, because Mom would never speak against him, because I was just playing the same role I'd always played, the compliant stepchild who knew her place. He had no idea I'd been preparing for war. Sunday dinner was supposed to celebrate Mom's promotion to regional sales director. She'd actually achieved something for once, stepped out from Calvin's shadow long enough to excel at her job. Maybe that's why the air felt electric before I even walked through the door at 6:30 that evening. The dining room was set with the good china, the ones Mom only brought out when she needed to pretend everything was perfect. Calvin sat at the head of the table, already 2 bourbons deep. His face flushed the particular shade of red that meant trouble. Mom bustled around, her movements quick and nervous, like a bird aware of a nearby cat. Look who finally showed up," Calvin said, not bothering to look at me. "Thought you might be too good for family dinners now that you're a homeowner." I took my usual seat, the outlet camera behind Calvin's chair capturing everything in high definition. My smartwatch was already set to emergency mode. Wouldn't miss it. Congratulations. Mom, she gave me a weak smile, setting down the pot roast with shaking hands. Thank you, sweetheart. Calvin helped me practice for the presentation. I basically wrote it for her, he interjected, sawing into the meat with unnecessary force. 23 years in sales, and she still doesn't know how to close properly. The meal continued with Calvin's running commentary on everyone's inadequacies. Mom's cooking was dry. My posture was terrible. The neighbors were idiots. His boss was a moron. By the time we reached dessert, his attention had focused entirely on me. So, Riley, he said, pronouncing my name like it tasted bad. How much did that house really cost? Must be nice, throwing money around when your mother and I struggled to pay bills. I manage my finances carefully, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Carefully. He snorted. That's what you call it, not helping your family. Your mother works herself to death while you play big shot in your fancy office. Mom's hand trembled as she poured coffee. Calvin, please. Shut up, Lorraine. I'm talking to your daughter about respect. His voice had that dangerous edge now, the one that used to make me fold into myself. She thinks she's too good for us, buying a house without even asking my advice, like I don't know anything about real estate. I stood up, starting to collect the plates. I should help Mom clean up. That's when it happened. Fast, violent, practiced. His hand shot out, grabbing a fistful of my hair, yanking my head back. Before I could react, he slammed my wrist against the table edge. The crack was audible bone meeting wood. The glass I'd been holding shattered on impact, sending shards across the tablecloth. Then came the shove, hard enough to send me sprawling onto the floor. Don't you ever walk away when I'm talking to you, he snarled, standing over me. You think you're better than me. You're nothing, a pathetic little girl playing dress-up in a business suit. Blood welled from where glass had cut my palm. My wrist screamed in protest as I pushed myself up. Mom stood frozen, her coffee cup suspended midair, not moving, not speaking, not even breathing. It seemed, Calvin, don't make it worse, she finally whispered. Worse. He laughed, the sound sharp and ugly. She's the one ruining this family, coming here with her attitude, flashing her money, making you feel bad about yourself. My smartwatch had triggered its SOS function the moment my heart rate spiked, recording 30 seconds of audio, capturing the impact, the threats. The outlet camera had filmed everything, the grab, the slam, the shove, the blood. Every second was already uploading to my secured cloud. I stood slowly, cradling my injured wrist. I'm leaving. You walk out that door. Don't bother coming back, Calvin shouted. You hear me? You're done with this family. I looked at Mom one last time. She was studying the coffee cup like it held the secrets of the universe, unable or unwilling to meet my eyes. 20 minutes later, I sat in the emergency room at Seabrook General, watching a nurse photograph my injuries. The doctor, the same one from before, Didn't buy my half-hearted excuse this time. These are defensive wounds, she said quietly, examining the swelling on my wrist, the pattern of bruising, the glass cuts. I need to document this properly. Will you let me? This time. I nodded. The hospital report was thorough. Photographs from multiple angles, X-rays showing bone bruising, detailed descriptions of each injury's size, color, and probable cause. I requested copies of everything, sent digital versions to my personal email, creating an undeniable timestamp. My phone buzzed with texts from Calvin Drama Queen. Making something out of nothing. Your mother is crying because of you. I saved every message, building my case one piece of evidence at a time. The courthouse opened at 8:30 Monday morning, and I was first in line at the clerk's office. My wrist throbbed beneath the medical brace, but the pain felt like clarity. The forms for a temporary protection order were straightforward. I'd researched them thoroughly over the past months, never thinking I'd actually need them. Domestic violence petition, the clerk said, not looking up. You'll need to be specific about incidents, dates, and immediate danger. My folder contained everything ER reports from last night and 6 months ago, printed screenshots of text messages, photographs of bruises at various stages of healing. I wrote steadily, detailing Calvin's escalation, the violence at dinner, his threats. The outlet camera footage was on a USB drive, ready for review. By noon, I stood before Judge Martinez. She reviewed my evidence with practiced efficiency, occasionally looking up at my bandaged wrist. The respondent resides with your mother. Yes, Your Honor, but I have my own residence now. The TPO is granted, she said, signing the order. Mr. Rourke must stay at least 100 feet away from you, your home, and workplace. No contact through any means calls, texts, third parties. The sheriff will serve him today. The full hearing is scheduled for 2 weeks. Walking out with that paper felt like breathing after being underwater for years. Then my phone exploded with notifications. Calvin had been served at 2:45. By 3, he'd called me 17 times. The voicemails were predictable. You vindictive little bitch. I'll make you regret this. Your mother will never forgive you. Each message was automatically saved and backed up. Mom's call came at 4:12. I almost didn't answer. How could you? Her voice was thick with tears. The sheriff came to our house. The neighbors saw everything. Do you know what you've done? He assaulted me. Mom. It was a misunderstanding. You know how he gets when he drinks. Why didn't you just apologize? For what existing being successful? Not letting him control me. You're destroying this family. He's threatening to leave me because of your spite. The conversation ended with her hanging up. I sat in my car in the Northline Dynamics parking lot, staring at the building where I'd built my career despite Calvin's constant undermining. Then I walked inside and went straight to Human Resources. Denise Hoffman, our HR director, listened as I explained the situation. I showed her the TPO, the medical report. I need to inform you in case he tries to contact me here or causes any issues. We take this seriously, she said, making notes. Security will have his photo. Your keycard will be recoded for additional access restrictions. Do you feel safe? Before I could answer, her phone rang. There's an email complaint about you, she said, frowning at her screen. Anonymous, claiming you're fabricating domestic violence allegations for financial gain. I pulled out my phone, showing her the video from last night. Calvin's hand in my hair, the slam, the shove. Her face went pale. I'll forward this to legal immediately, she said. This is witness intimidation and harassment. We'll trace the email and add it to your file as evidence of retaliation. By evening, Calvin had recruited his flying monkeys. His brother called me a homewrecker. His golf buddy sent a Facebook message about false accusations ruining good men's lives. 3 of Mom's friends texted variations of, think about what you're doing to your poor mother. My lawyer, Marla Quinn, was a recommendation from the personal safety course instructor. She reviewed everything in her office that evening, occasionally making approving sounds. This is textbook escalation and retaliation, she said. The video evidence is damning. His messages violate the TPO repeatedly. We need to document everything, every call, every third-party contact. What about Mom? She keeps calling, begging me to drop the charges. She's enabling him, but she's also a victim. We'll request records of her ER visits over the past 12 years. I'm betting we'll find a pattern. She was right, of course. Mom had been to the emergency room 8 times during her marriage to Calvin, always clumsy, always accidents. The same doctor had treated her twice, noting concerns about the frequency of falls. I want to request recordings from my neighbor's security cameras, I said. The Pattersons have a doorbell cam that faces our old driveway. Marla smiled. You've done your homework. We'll subpoena those if needed. For now, keep documenting. Don't respond to any contact. And Riley, you're not responsible for your mother's choices. That night, alone in my house, my safe, Calvin-free house, I backed up everything to 3 different cloud services and a physical drive in my bank deposit box. 37 missed calls from Calvin, 12 from Mom, 64 text messages ranging from threats to pleas to more threats. Each notification was another nail in the case I was building. Calvin thought his rage made him powerful. He was about to learn that evidence and preparation were far more dangerous than any fist. Calvin's counterattack came Wednesday morning. I woke to find my social media flooded with comments on a post I couldn't see he'd blocked me but made sure everyone else could witness his performance. My cousin forwarded the screenshots, heartbroken that my stepdaughter would lie about me to get attention. I've tried so hard to be a father to her after taking her in. Mental illness runs in her biological father's family. Praying she gets help. 63 reactions. 29 comments of support for him. My reputation being shredded by people who'd known me since childhood. By lunch, Northline Dynamics received 3 more anonymous complaints about my unstable behavior and history of lying. Denise from HR forwarded them to legal, but the damage was spreading. 2 colleagues asked if I was okay in that careful way people do when they think you're having a breakdown. Then came the official counter-petition. Calvin had filed his own complaint, claiming I'd attacked him Sunday night, that my injuries were self-inflicted, and he'd merely defended himself. His statement described me as violent and mentally unstable, prone to fabrication and manipulation. Marla called immediately. This is good. Actually, good. He's saying I'm crazy. He's creating evidence of his own pattern. False allegations, defamation, witness tampering. Every lie he tells is another charge we can file. Speaking of which, check your email. The video from the Pattersons' doorbell camera was grainy but clear enough. It showed Calvin carrying something to his car at 11:47 Sunday night, what looked like a garbage bag. The timestamp was crucial after the assault, after I'd left for the hospital. He was destroying evidence, Marla said, but he didn't know about your cameras. This establishes consciousness of guilt. Thursday brought more escalation. Mom called from her work phone since I'd blocked her personal number. Calvin hired a lawyer. He's saying you've been stealing from us. That's how you afforded the house. He wants to audit your finances. Let him try. Riley, please. He's talking about suing you for defamation. We'll lose everything fighting this in court. You mean he'll lose everything? I'm his wife. His debts are my debts. His reputation is mine. Her voice cracked. Everyone at church is talking about it. Pastor Williams says I should stand by my husband. Pastor Williams didn't get his wrist slammed into a table. The call ended with her crying. I saved the recording Delaware was a one-party consent state, and her admission that Calvin was making false financial accusations was valuable. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you won, I know where you live. Pretty house. Shame if something happened to it. I screenshot it, forwarded it to Marla, then called the police. The officer who took the report seemed bored until I showed him the TPO and the threatening message. We'll increase patrols in your neighborhood, he promised. Keep documenting everything. That evening, I installed more cameras overlooking my driveway, backyard, and garage. The security system was upgraded with glass brake sensors and motion detectors. Every entrance had double locks now. My neighbor, retired Marine Ken Thompson, noticed the installation. "Everything all right, Riley." I showed him Calvin's photo. "If you see this man near my property, call 911 immediately." "Roger that. Me and the wife will keep watch." Friday afternoon. Calvin made his biggest mistake. He showed up at Northline Dynamics. Security stopped him at the lobby, but not before he caused a scene, demanding to speak with my supervisor about my theft of company resources and fraudulent expense reports. The entire interaction was captured on building surveillance. My supervisor, Janet Zhu, was furious not at me, but at Calvin. "Legal wants to pursue harassment charges," she told me. "His accusations are baseless and damaging to the company's reputation. We've also traced those anonymous emails. They came from an IP address registered to his workplace. The evidence was mounting faster than Calvin could do damage control. His employer called him in for a meeting about using company resources for personal vendettas. 3 neighbors had come forward with doorbell footage of him violating the 100-foot restriction by driving past my house. His own lawyer was reportedly suggesting he take a plea deal if criminal charges were filed. But Calvin couldn't stop himself. Saturday morning at 7:23, he sent another text from a burner phone. "You're going to regret destroying this family. Your mother chose me over you. You're nothing. Wait until the hearing, I'll bury you." I forwarded it to Marla with a simple message. "How much more do we need?" Her response was immediate. "This is enough for criminal charges, but I have an idea. He's angry and sloppy. Let's give him enough rope to hang himself completely." "What did you have in mind?" "Legal bait. Something he won't be able to resist violating the TPO for. We control when and where, with witnesses and cameras ready." Interested. I looked at my bandaged wrist, thought about Mom defending him, about the years of walking on eggshells. "Tell me the plan." Calvin thought he was the predator in this story. He was about to learn what it meant to be prey. Calvin's weakness is his ego. Marla explained Monday morning in her office. "He needs to win, especially in front of an audience. We're going to use that." The plan was elegantly simple. I would return some of Calvin's belongings that had been mixed with my things during my move old tools. A jacket, some books. But instead of dropping them at Mom's house, I'd arrange the exchange at the Community Safety Center, the building adjacent to the police station. The parking lot had clearly marked safety zones for custody exchanges and protection order compliance. "Everything legal," Marla emphasized. "The TPO allows for returning property through a neutral third party or at a law enforcement location. We'll notify the desk sergeant of the scheduled exchange. Your colleague films from across the lot. You wear a body camera. We document everything." I studied the satellite view of the location. "He won't be able to resist confronting me." "Exactly. And when he does, law enforcement is 20 feet away." We scheduled it for Thursday at 4:30 p.m., public enough for witnesses, late enough that Calvin would have spent the day stewing. I sent the notification through Marla's office. "Ms. Hart will return Mr. Rourke's personal property on Thursday at the Community Safety Center, parking lot Zone B. Mr. Rourke may send a representative to collect the items while maintaining the required distance per TPO guidelines." Calvin's lawyer responded within hours, confirming Calvin would collect the items personally to ensure nothing was stolen or damaged. The bait was taken. Wednesday night. I prepared carefully. The box contained his belongings, nothing valuable, just sentimental enough to matter. His father's old hammer, a fishing tackle box, the leather jacket he'd worn to intimidate me so many times. Each item was photographed and cataloged. Dinah from accounting agreed to be my backup witness. "Park here." I showed her on the map. "You'll have a clear view but be far enough away to avoid confrontation. Just film everything on your phone." "Got it. This guy really messed with the wrong person." Thursday arrived gray and drizzling. I clipped the body camera inside my coat, invisible but recording. The bruises on my wrist had turned purple-green, still visible above the brace. I arrived at 4:20, parking in the marked safety zone. The community center's cameras had clear sight lines to the entire area. At 4:28, I set the box on the designated exchange bench and stepped back to the required distance, a bright yellow line painted on the asphalt. A desk sergeant watched from the station window. I waved. He nodded. Calvin's truck roared into the lot at 4:33, tires screeching. He wasn't alone. Mom sat in the passenger seat, her face pale and drawn. He parked deliberately close to my car, already violating the 100-foot requirement. "Stay in the truck! Lorraine!" he barked, slamming his door. He strode toward me, past the box, past the yellow line. My body camera captured every step. "You think you're clever. Setting me up. The box is on the bench," I said calmly, backing away. "Please maintain the required distance." "Required distance." He laughed, ugly and sharp. "You destroyed my reputation, cost me a promotion, turned my wife against me, and you want to talk about distance." He was 10 feet away now. 5. I kept backing up, maintaining space, letting the camera capture his aggression. "Please step back. Calvin, you're violating the protection order. I don't give a damn about your piece of paper." He lunged forward, grabbing for my arm, the injured one. I twisted away, but he caught my shoulder, shoving hard. I stumbled, catching myself against a concrete barrier. The body camera recorded his hands on me. The shove, my defensive posture. "You're nothing," he screamed. "A pathetic little—" "Sir!" The sergeant's voice boomed across the parking lot. "Step away from her immediately." Calvin spun around. 2 officers had emerged from the station, hands on their duty belts. Mom had gotten out of the truck, wringing her hands. "She set me up," Calvin shouted. "This is entrapment. Sir, you're in violation of a protection order." "Step away from Miss Hart, now." Calvin's face went from red to purple. He turned back to me, raising his fist. "You think you've won." The officers moved fast. Before Calvin could finish his threat, they had him restrained. The cuffs clicked with a satisfying finality. "Calvin Rourke, you're under arrest for violation of a protective order and assault." The Miranda rights followed as they led him toward the station. Mom ran over, tears streaming. "Riley, please, tell them it's a misunderstanding." "It's on camera, Mom, all of it." She grabbed my arm, the injured one, desperately. "Don't do this. He's your father." "No," I said, pulling free. "He's your husband, and he's going to jail." Dina appeared at my side, phone still recording. She'd captured everything from a wide angle: Calvin's approach, the violation, the shove, the arrest. Combined with my body camera and the community center's surveillance, we had multiple angles of the same crime. As the police car pulled away with Calvin in the back, his face twisted with rage through the window, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: safety. The parking lot erupted in chaos the moment Calvin realized he was actually being arrested. His face contorted from shock to pure rage as the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. "This is bullshit," he roared, trying to wrench away from the officers. "She set me up. You can't arrest me for getting my own property." "Sir, you violated a protection order and assaulted her on camera," the younger officer stated flatly. "You have the right to remain silent." "I don't give a fuck about my rights. That bitch planned this." The body camera on my chest captured every word, every threatening gesture as he struggled against the restraints. My hands stayed steady, documenting his complete loss of control. This was Calvin without his mask, raw, violent, unfiltered. Mom stood frozen between us, her carefully styled hair disheveling in the drizzle. "Officers, please, this is just a family disagreement." "Ma'am, step back," the sergeant instructed firmly. "This is an active arrest." Calvin's eyes locked onto mine over the officer's shoulder. "You think you're so smart, I know people. I'll be out in an hour, and when I am—" "Are you threatening her in front of law enforcement?" The sergeant interrupted. "Keep talking, sir. Please." That's when Calvin made his final, fatal error. He twisted violently, breaking partially free from the younger officer's grip, and lunged toward me again. His shoulder connected with my chest, sending me stumbling backward into my car. Pain shot through my already injured wrist as I caught myself against the hood. 3 officers immediately converged on him, forcing him to the ground. Calvin's face pressed against the wet asphalt as they secured him. The community center's security camera captured it all from above: the attempted attack, the takedown, his continued threats even while pinned. "Additional charges," the sergeant said, breathing hard. "Assault on the victim, resisting arrest, attempting to intimidate a witness." He looked at me. "Are you hurt?" "My wrist," I said, holding up my braced arm. He targeted my injury. "We'll need you to get checked at the ER again. More documentation." He turned to another officer. "Call for an ambulance. Non-emergency, but we want medical evaluation on record." Calvin was hauled to his feet, his expensive polo shirt torn and dirty. Mom tried to follow as they marched him toward the station, her heels clicking frantically on the pavement. "Calvin, don't say anything. I'll call your lawyer." He turned to snarl at her. "This is your fault too. Lorraine, your daughter." "Actually," the sergeant interrupted, "everything you say is being recorded and will be used in your prosecution. Please, continue blaming others for your violent behavior." The station door closed behind them with a definitive thud. Mom stood in the rain, looking lost. For a moment, our eyes met, and I saw something flicker there, not quite recognition, but maybe the first crack in her denial. "He pushed you," she said quietly. "I saw him push you." "You've seen him push me before, Mom." Her face crumpled. I need to go bail him out." "With what money?" "The joint account he controls, the credit cards in his name." I pulled out my phone, showing her the recording from Sunday's dinner. "This is who he is. This is who you're choosing." She watched the video, Calvin's hand in my hair, the slam, the shove. Her breath hitched. "That's not—" "He was just angry." "He's always angry. Mom." Dina approached carefully, still filming. "Mrs. Rourke, I've been recording this entire interaction. Your husband violated a protection order, assaulted Riley twice on camera, and threatened her in front of police. This isn't going away." Mom looked between us, then at the police station where her husband was being processed. I need to go." "His arraignment will probably be tomorrow," I said. "The judge will see the video evidence, the protection order violation, the assault on camera, the threats to law enforcement. He won't get bail easily." She walked away without another word, her shoulders shaking, whether from tears or anger. I couldn't tell. The EMTs arrived 15 minutes later, examining my wrist and documenting new bruising on my chest from Calvin's shoulder charge. Every photograph, every note became another piece of evidence. Dina sat with me in the ambulance. "That was intense. You okay?" "He did exactly what we expected," I said, watching them photograph the fresh bruises layering over the old ones. "Calvin always has to win, has to have the last word. It's what made him predictable." My phone buzzed with a text from Marla. "Prosecutor called. With the new charges and video evidence. Calvin's looking at minimum 6 months, possibly 2 years if convicted on all counts. This is exactly what we needed." As the EMTs finished their documentation, I looked back at the community safety center. The yellow safety lines were still visible in the parking lot, the ones Calvin had crossed so deliberately. He'd walked right into a trap of his own making, his ego and rage blinding him to the cameras, the witnesses, the proximity to law enforcement. The best part, he'd know I'd orchestrated it. And there was absolutely nothing he could do about it anymore. Inside the police station, fluorescent lights hummed overhead as I signed my name on the witness statement for the 5th time. The detective across from me, a woman named Sharon Reeves, had methodically walked through every second of the parking lot incident, comparing my account to the multiple video angles. "The body camera footage is damning," she said, clicking through frames on her computer. "He clearly targeted your injured wrist. That shows premeditation, specific intent to cause harm." Through the glass partition, I could see Calvin in the holding area, his expensive shirt wrinkled, his face cycling between rage and disbelief. He kept demanding to speak to his lawyer, to call his connections, to explain his side. The officers ignored him with practiced indifference. Marla arrived at 6:45, carrying a thick folder and wearing her courtroom face. The prosecutors adding felony assault charges because he targeted your existing injury, with the protection order violation, resisting arrest, and witness intimidation. He's looking at serious time. She spread papers across the table, my medical records, the protection order, transcripts of his threatening messages. This is a solid case. Riley. But I want more. We're filing civil charges too. Assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, lost wages from missing work, medical expenses, therapy costs. I don't want his money. It's not about money. It's about consequences. His retirement fund, his precious truck, the equity in your mother's house, all fair game in a civil judgment. A door slammed down the hall, and Calvin's voice echoed through the station. You think you're better than me? You're nothing, a nobody. I made you who you are. Detective Reeves sighed. He's been ranting for an hour. We've recorded all of it. He's confessed to the Sunday assault 3 times while claiming it was justified. My phone buzzed with texts from Mom. Please drop the charges. He's sorry. Think about our family. This will ruin him. I showed them to Marla, who immediately photographed them. Attempting to influence a witness through a third party. We'll add those to the file. At 7:15, they brought Calvin past our room for processing. Orange jumpsuit replacing his polo. Hands cuffed in front. The reality finally hitting him. He saw me through the window and lunged against his restraints. You planned this, he screamed. You manipulative little... The officers dragged him away, but not before Detective Reeves captured his outburst on her phone. That's another charge, attempting to intimidate a witness in a police station. He's really not helping himself. The prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney James Morrison, arrived at 8, young but sharp. He reviewed the evidence with obvious satisfaction. This is one of the strongest domestic violence cases I've seen. Multiple angles of video, medical documentation, a clear pattern of escalation, violations of a protection order, and he keeps incriminating himself. He pulled up the community center footage on his laptop. Watch this part. The screen showed Calvin deliberately parking too close, walking past the safety line, advancing on me despite my backing away. This destroys any claim of self-defense or accidental contact. He hunted you. When's the arraignment? I asked. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Given the evidence and his behavior, I'm requesting no bail or, at minimum, a high bond with strict conditions GPS monitoring, no contact with you or your mother, mandatory anger management. My mother, she's a witness. He can't pressure her to recant or change her testimony. Through the window, I watched Calvin being fingerprinted, his face contorted in rage as reality sank in. The man who'd terrorized me for 12 years, who'd hidden behind closed doors and family silence, was now in the system, documented, processed, exposed. There's more, Detective Reeves said, returning with a tablet. We ran his history. 2 previous domestic incidents with an ex-girlfriend from 15 years ago. Charges were dropped when she moved out of state. We're tracking her down to see if she'll provide a statement about pattern behavior. Marla smiled grimly. Pattern evidence is admissible. This keeps getting better. At 8:45, as I prepared to leave, Mom appeared in the station lobby. Her makeup was ruined, her perfect composure shattered. She saw me and started forward, but an officer stopped her. She's filing charges against you too, Mom called out, for trying to protect your father. He's not my father, I said clearly. He's your husband, the one who gave me this. I held up my braced wrist, and this, pointing to the bruises on my chest. And now he's a convicted felon in waiting. You've destroyed our lives. Detective Reeves stepped between us. Ma'am, your daughter documented 12 years of escalating abuse. Your husband destroyed his own life. She just stopped letting him destroy hers. As I walked out of the station, Calvin's voice echoed from the holding cells. You think you're better than me. For the first time in my life, I had the perfect answer. I didn't think it, I knew it. And tomorrow, a judge would know it too. The glass door closed behind me, sealing him inside with his rage, his crimes, and the consequences he'd spent years avoiding. The October night air felt clean and sharp against my skin. I was free. He was not. The holding cell door slammed with a metallic finality that echoed through the processing area. Calvin's face, visible through the small window, had transformed from entitled rage to something else, the dawning comprehension that his kingdom of control had collapsed. "You can't keep me here," he shouted at the officer completing his intake forms. "I know people. I'll have your badge." The officer didn't even look up. "Sir, you'll be held until your arraignment tomorrow morning at 9. Your lawyer can discuss bail then." I stood at the booking desk, finishing the last of my statement signatures. Detective Reeves had the evidence laid out like a prosecutor's dream, the body camera footage playing on loop on one screen, the community center surveillance on another, Dina's wide-angle video on a third. Each angle showed the same truth, Calvin crossing every line, physical and legal, that existed between us. The timestamp at the bottom of each video glowed 5:23 p.m., 5:24, 5:25, 3 minutes that ended 12 years of terror. Mom sat in the waiting area, staring at her hands. She'd aged a decade in the past 2 hours, her carefully maintained facade crumbling. When she looked up at me, I saw something I'd never seen before doubt. "The detective showed me the videos," she whispered. "All of them, even the one from Sunday dinner." I said nothing, letting the silence speak for itself. "He grabbed your hair. I saw it happen, and I still—" She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence that would confirm her complicity. Marla emerged from the prosecutor's office, carrying more papers. Calvin's being charged with felony assault, violation of a protection order, witness intimidation, resisting arrest, and making terroristic threats. Morrison says with his priors that just surfaced, he's looking at minimum 18 months, possibly 3 years. Through the processing window, Calvin was being led to a different cell, the one where he'd spend the night. His designer shoes, the ones he'd polished obsessively to maintain his image, scraped against the concrete floor. The sound was almost musical. "Assault on the victim in front of law enforcement," the booking officer read from his screen. "That was particularly stupid." Calvin's response was another screaming rant about being set up, about his rights, about how I'd manipulated everyone. The officer simply turned up the volume on his radio, drowning him out. I pulled out my phone and opened the cloud folder where everything was stored. 147 files. Videos, photos, medical records, text messages, voicemails. 12 years condensed into digital evidence that would follow him forever. Background checks would show his arrests. Google searches would reveal the charges. The reputation he'd killed himself to maintain was destroyed in pixels and PDFs. "Ms. Hart." A younger officer approached with an evidence bag. "We need to catalog your body camera before you leave." I unclipped it, watching him seal it and label it with case numbers that would define Calvin's future. The small device had captured what years of hidden bruises couldn't indisputable proof that I wasn't crazy, wasn't lying, wasn't the problem. At 8:55 p.m., the final paperwork was complete. Restraining order extended, criminal charges filed, civil suit prepared. Calvin would never come near me again without facing immediate arrest. As I gathered my things, Calvin's voice echoed one last time from the holding area. "You think you're better than me." This time, I answered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "No, Calvin, I don't think anything. I just proved it." The booking officer actually smiled. Mom stood as I passed, reaching out tentatively. "Riley, The prosecutor will contact you about testimony," I said, stepping around her. "Tell the truth for once, or don't. The videos speak for themselves." The last image burned into my memory, Calvin's arrest report glowing on the booking computer screen. Height, weight, charges, bail status pending. His designer shirt replaced with orange, His control replaced with handcuffs, his threats replaced with Miranda rights. The heavy metal door of the detention area closed with a definitive clank, sealing him inside while I walked free into the October night. Behind me, fluorescent lights illuminated his new reality, a 6x8 cell where his money meant nothing, his connections were worthless, and his rage was just noise against concrete walls. My wrist still ached beneath the brace, but for the first time in 12 years, the rest of me felt weightless. Calvin had asked the same question he'd always asked. You think you're better than me? The answer was written in case numbers, filed in evidence folders, locked in a jail cell. I didn't need to think it anymore. The whole world could see it. The state of Delaware versus Calvin Rourke. Case closed. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts below. Your experiences and perspectives matter, and I'd be honored to hear them.